Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hello and welcome once again to Quick Shot Reviews. Today's video is Ma, released in 2019, one of the last thriller/horror movies that came out in that year before the pandemic. And yeah, I decided to watch it. It was available on Netflix here in the UK. I've been looking at it. I've been thinking, oh, maybe I should have a look at that. I've heard good things. So I decided to watch it. So if you want to hear my thoughts on Ma, then join us for the main part of the video. So Ma was released in 2019. It was directed by Tate Taylor and follows the exploits of a older lady, midlife crisis, wanting to relive her teenage years vicariously through actual teenagers. We were probably not teenagers, but they play teenagers. Horror. I wouldn't say this one was actually horror, to be fair. I would say it's more of a thriller, but I still was very much hooked on the concept of this rather than the story. It's quite creepy in places, which is exactly what you want from a film like this. And you know, Olivia Spencer plays the character really, really well, with a cast of supporting actors as well. She absolutely bosses this movie. It's a good psychological thriller, but from Ma, who is suffering from the traumatic events of her past, being bullied in I'm going to call it secondary school, it's high school in America, of course, and humiliated when she sees her adult classmates. She tries to take revenge on them by luring the kids into her basement to party and giving them somewhere to go. As the plot goes on, it does become more nonsensical, as it just basically revolves around them partying and drinking and things like that. But it does have some strong direction in there. So the basic plot of this is a lonely woman befriends a group of teenagers and decides to let them party at her house. Just when the kids think their luck couldn't get any better, things start happening that revolve around Ma, like asking them to call her Ma, for example, if you didn't want to find out what was more creepy than a random person saying, "Hey kids, call me Ma." That being said, I was still entertained by this film. It's, like I say, it is not a horror. It will not jump out and scare you. It will make you think. It may go, ugh, because there's some stuff in here that really does address the more psychological aspect of a thriller. The direction gets lost, losing all the suspense and thrills around the halfway point, as things just keep happening the same way all the way through. It is a little dull and boring in parts, but the characters are very much a part of that, uninteresting, good support, but and acted really well, but the characters just die out, really. The teenagers are written as stupid characters, which, you know, has all the traits of a horror movie, but it needs to be more in the sort of thriller suspense category. The film does set a good, unsettling atmosphere and gives you that feeling and sense of dread, like, oh, when's something going to happen, which may leave cringing at certain points, which I've already mentioned. Thought that Octavia Spencer just bossed this film completely, and did an amazing job. Can't quite put my finger on what was missing, apart from, you know, the development of the characters and things like that, but it was okay. It was not amazing, but it was certainly very entertaining for what it was, and it had a tiny budget as well of $5 million. And, you know, Blumhouse were definitely going to make a profit on this one, because they just say, here you go, here's $5 million, go and make us a film that we can release in the cinema that unsuspecting people will go and see. I didn't see this one in the cinema, but it can certainly just pick up on Netflix, you know, and that seems to be the Blumhouse way. Occasionally they do bring out a decent film. I've not seen one for quite a while. I thought this one was one of their more entertaining efforts, to be honest with you, but it still definitely was not perfect. If you've got access to this in the UK on Netflix, then I'd suggest you just give it a whirl. Let us know what you thought of it. It's a quick 1.5 hour romp where things will happen, and for much of it I was like, when's something going to happen? But I always found myself wanting more, and that is the mark of a good cheesy film, really. I mean, you know, if you want more of it, then why not? So my final verdict on this one is check it out, because it is, you know, you're not going to lose out on anything by watching it. If you want art house horror, then go and watch art house horror and films. This one is not one of those. It's just what it is. It's a Blumhouse film. Cheap, cheerful, and actually one of the better entries of their films in recent years. So that is what I thought of Ma. If you have seen it, Cheap Shot Nation, let us know in the comments section down below the video. Otherwise, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and let us know on there. There'll be more releases on here. The cinemas are now open. As we go and watch more films, there'll be more reviews, and hopefully we'll get to see a good one soon. Much like The Quiet Place Part 2, which is an absolutely fabulous film, contrasting Fast and Furious 9, which is an absolute dumpster fire of a film. You are the Cheap Shot Nation. I have been your host, Luke, and I will see you next time.